Welcome to The Truth in This Art, your source for conversations at the intersection of arts, culture, and community. I am your host, Rob Lee. Thank you for joining me. Today, I am excited to be in conversation with my next guests. They are the producers behind the Baltimore MET Gala, an innovative and luxurious event that brings together the best in art, philanthropy, culinary experiences, and fashion within the region. Please welcome LaRian Finney and Derrick Chase. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for making the time. And I mean, I think in doing the research and preparing for this interview, what the work that you guys are doing with this and just the work overall is definitely aligned with what I do, you know, as far as Baltimore, highlighting all of the different folks and, you know, some of the artists and some of the folks in the culinary scene that I've seen. I was like, oh, I got interviews with them, So I'm glad we're able to do this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, it's really for Chase and I is how could we bring just the best and brightest, although they're based in Baltimore, these are really national, international talents from the fashion, culinary, and art scene. So we were just blessed to be in a unique position to integrate those three categories and verticals to make sure that we have representation of what's really best about our city, but that could really transition and be recognized across the country and globally.
That's a good start. It's a good start there. I love that. And thank you for that. So as we go in sort of the introduction, I always like to start off with, you know, giving folks opportunity to introduce themselves. I think oftentimes we get those online bios and something's left out. You know, it's always a detail that's left out. Like I remember interviewing a guy, he was a cinematographer. He's like, yeah, you know, the first part of my career, I did music for 10 years. I was like, that's nowhere in your bio, bro. Let's talk about it. So If we could start with you, Derrick. We can go left to right, from my left to your right.
Yeah. Okay. My story is simply complicated. Baltimore, born and bred, grew up in the Park Heights community. Like to say I was born on the Avenue, raised in Park Heights, been all over the world, but never been out of Baltimore longer than 3 weeks. So I have an interesting and unique relationship with Baltimore as a city, because our relationships, not only do they run wide, but they also run deep.
Yeah.
So son of Baltimore. Went to high school here, went to college here, raised a family here, bought a home here, opened a business here, and impacted the community. But I guess there's some significant highlights of my life. I'm an artist. So I was born a poet, and I spent a numerous amount of time as a professional poet. Like, who actually does that? But I fell in love with words young, and I understood the words of LaRian Finney. He says this often, you know, words matter. Like what you say, it matters. And what you say to yourself matters. So I was one of those kids that, you know, talked himself into deciding to make Baltimore a place for global transformation, right? Yeah. Not only through art, but also where art and activism connect. And then extending that into cultural development and then economic development.
Yeah. So
most of my life, you know, I've been in a few of those spaces. Of course, you know, known for beginning the career of Raheem Devon. I'm also an author. I put the book out, When Change Comes, The Story of the Million Man March. Executive produce CDs, but I'm also an artist on a CD. You know, that's literally a known fact. I feel like, what's my man from Drink Champs? Just make up a word, right? But, you know, I'm an artist. So, you know, I've created Urban Ave 31, the group, and then I released Urban Blues. And Urban Blues is really the soundtrack to what we're doing now, which is transforming the hearts and minds of people, letting people in Baltimore know that this is their home and every aspect of Baltimore belongs to them, whether it's pristine universities, pristine institutions such as the Preakness. We believe that this whole entire place is ours, and we believe in inspiring people to carry it like that.
That's great. Thank you.
So, yeah, LaRian Finney, of course, grew up in Cherry Hill, went to Poly, and played basketball at Mount St. Mary's College. Uh, from where it started, a degree in chemistry to marketing, branding, in the NBA, to working on the Olympics with Eastman Kodak, to doing sales with Johnson& Johnson, started the Finn Group in 2001. And we're just very fortunate that we've been able to anchor some iconic events in the city, from the African American Heritage Festival to Jazzy Summer Nights, the new iteration of Afro Creek, the Baltimore Met Gala, chasing out for TBT, which was the $2 million basketball tournament to Baltimore. So that's it on the event side. Nationally, we've done Super Bowl, NBA All-Star, NAACP Convention, National Urban League Convention. So we have in international and national events, and we bring that experience to execute here locally. And then we've just been very blessed to be part of the new reimagination of the Monterey Jazz Festival with Darren Atwater. So where I sit now, it's really about culturally relevant, culturally sensitive community economic impact, whether that's through marketing, consulting with corporations, or doing development within neighborhoods that impact folks that look like us. Collaboration between Chase and I, we bring particular strengths to the table. And I think when you're equally yoked, you're not good at the same thing.
Sure.
So he carries one half of the ship, I carry the other half, and that keeps us balanced. And we've been able to push forward in a very sustainable, but more importantly, in a way that is reflective of what Baltimore should be, how we should expect things to be executed, and then how we should collaborate, most importantly, for everyone to reach this full potential.
I love that. Thank you. And also, I'd be remiss if I don't mention, yeah, City Forever. And I heard that Poly thing right there a second ago. I gotta take a shot at you a little bit there.
Yeah. You know, I have one of my business partners, Dr. Hathaway, is a city grad, and I never hold it against him.
Okay, we out here. Good one. So, and I'm hearing pieces of it, and I definitely want to just open up to sort of, the origin story of Baltimore Met Gala. Ultimately, how did the idea come about? And I want to go backwards a little bit in a moment, but I at least want to talk about sort of those initial rumblings of, we need to do this. We need to bring these different communities together, these different folks together. And where did that germinate from?
Well, as with 99.9% of the stuff that Chase and I do, it was a phone call probably 2 o'clock in the morning. I got an idea, and then he and I and Lonnie Walker met at my home in Baltimore. He had seen a very small party down at the Pendry, but everyone was dressed very, very over the top Met Gala-like. And we said we need to come up with an event, a concept that one could support and impact philanthropic organizations, specifically those impacting our community. So we came up very quickly with the Baltimore Met Gala, and we have been doing some collaboration. And that's a theme all throughout, Rob, how we can only build what we're doing through collaborations. We have been doing some things with the Baltimore Museum of Art, and we said, could we showcase and do the initial event at the BMA? Yeah. Because we saw the steps, and we knew that we had to come out year one to make an impression. And those steps, the historic steps at the BMA, remind you of the gala in New York. And then because we were tight on budget, we said the museum and all of the millions of dollars of art will be part of the showcase of the event. And then once we settled on the location, Chase and I decided that we were going to differentiate the event from what's happening in New York, because we were focused on local designers who are based in Baltimore but who have international appeal. We wanted to feature local artists and local culinary, and then recognize individuals within the community who have impact and who are doing very noteworthy executions and activations and support. So that's really the framework of the Met Gala. It's fashion, it's art, it's culinary, with the philanthropic bent toward to make sure we're giving back.
It's great. I love that. And again, it aligns with a lot of what I do in hearing like collaboration, a lot of these things, I don't have folks to talk about or folks to want to come on, you know what I mean? And, being able to elevate and show all of the great things we have to offer locally from, arts, fashion, food, and so on, it's really important. And reading, because I'm a numbers guy. Outside of doing this podcast, I'm a data analyst. So when I start looking at numbers and teasing through numbers, I'm like, okay, these are great things. I'm seeing, over 1,200 folks, guests, that have shown up for last year's Met Gala, 10 designers, 6 artists, 10 Black-owned restaurants, and 5 million in media exposure. Could you speak to sort of the visibility and how that impacts Baltimore, particularly in elevating arts, culture, fashion, and the food scenes? This podcast is very much born out of this idea of showing and highlighting all of these different parts of our Baltimore. So I want to, lobby that question to you. Either of you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, Rob. First and foremost, Baltimore historically has been known for the place that you drive through when you're driving past Washington, D.C. to New York or Boston, right?
Yeah.
And so we've historically been overlooked, right? We're the underdog. And then when we did get our opportunities to appear again in the national news, well, not even the national news, but appear in front of the world, the window that the world began to, or the filter that the world began to see us through was through the corner and then the wire. So the assumption was that if you're from Baltimore, all right, that is your only reality. That is the selling point of Baltimore. But for those who've gone to Poly or City, or in my case, Merville, Mergenthaler, right? Around the corner from City, all right? Yeah. We know that there's just, Baltimore is a plethora of amazing people, amazing places, both that are constructed and just the general landscape of where Baltimore is. Most people who talk about or hear about Baltimore don't realize that we're the deepest inland seaport, that a significant amount of products that reach the entire Americas, all right, comes directly through Baltimore. So it's all of these little things about Baltimore that people don't know. People don't realize that Baltimore is considered the city of first.
Yeah.
It's considered a city of first public works system. And I can go through it. So with all that being said, those of us who live here, we know what's here. Yeah. And when we get the opportunity to, well, not even when we get the opportunity, those who know have a responsibility to tell, right? So our unique relationship with Baltimore is that we are Baltimore sons. Not only are we Baltimore sons, we are Baltimore stars. We are people who've gone on in our individual lives to do things that some people would consider significant or impactful, all right? So the question becomes, we're not even a question. The statement that I like to live by is, it's not the discovery of your gift, but the discovery of who your gifts will serve, all right? So when you have the opportunity of somebody gives you a flashlight, all right, do you shine it on yourself? Do you say, look at me, look at me, look at me? Or do you use the flashlight to illuminate all the great things that have created you, crafted you, that are continuing to shape your reality and the things that you enjoy? And that's our relationship with each other, all right? The reality of my life is, I see Finney as a gift to Baltimore and to the world, all right? Yeah. So if I have something in my mind, who else am I going to tell? Except to a person that I believe have a unique set of skills where he can take and craft genius. He can take, number one, he can see genius. He's not so big himself that he can't see genius in other people.
Did you have anything you wanted to add there, LaRian, before we move into this next question?
No, I think just from the media aspect, I think and I want to give Ritza and her team an amazing shout out. But I think if we continue to tell good stories and you challenge media, that we cannot be all bad. So as much effort as you spend on highlighting what may be negative within our city that really is challenges that we have across America, let's also spend as much energy highlighting the good stuff and the good people and the good activations that really are really the showpiece and really the light for our city. Reach out to media. We're telling stories, and we're telling stories that talk about how many jobs we create, how many Black vendors we use, what the economic impact is, what the cultural impact is, what is the optimism impact when folks see us putting events on or activations like this. It inspires other people. So when you tell that story, it will behoove print and television and radio and podcasts to say, hey, let's take a look at this and show and shine some light on it. So that's how we've been very successful in a very short time with the Met Gala and other activations that we have.
It's wonderful. And, it's a really good point where, when I first became aware, I think it was like last year, I maybe saw something from like Earle Bannister or something along those lines. And I was like, how can I be involved? What can I do? And just the timing didn't really line up for what I was working on at the time. But, it definitely gave me and what I aspire in doing this, the sense of pride of like, these are local guys that are making this happen. And I love that. These are folks that I know and I've seen as far as the folks that are involved. It's like, this is actually of the community. This is a real thing, not something that this is for you. We know it's for you. It's just like, this is what it can be. And we already have this talent. So let's build this up. So I love it.
And Rob, I think a critical point, man, typically when you're able to swim in deep waters, we tend to feel like we have to go to other people to execute. And I want to highlight the designers, the media company, the artists, the models, Chase and myself. We're all Baltimore individuals who are producing this amazing event that's getting worldwide recognition. So we're not going out sourcing the production and the execution to a third-party vendor. We're in the mud, right? And we're putting the work in, and we have an amazing team with Ritza and Lana Rae and Earle and Jody Davis, LaRian Finney, Ernest Shaw, Ainsley Burroughs. It's superstars across the top line. Yeah. And I just want to really emphasize and hope that goes into some folks' spirit that you only go outside your city to do things at a very, very high level.
And Rob, I'll add, you don't necessarily need to leave your city, right? So, oftentimes, you hear the story about the child that, feels so inspired that they cultivate and develop themselves, but in essence, to achieve whatever level of greatness that they experience, they have to be recognized outside of their hometown. Yeah. So I also think that the genius of what it is that we have done is to force those who, and sometimes intentionally, don't want to look at Baltimore's greatness, right? Sometimes the other part of Baltimore, this is business. It sells, right? So to force them to even take another look at themselves, because they are Baltimore also.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. And especially in the coming up on 800 interviews I've done for this, just sort of that awareness of you don't have to leave. You could do it here. You can make it happen here. Your people are here. So I'm going to move into this next, since we've talked a little bit about the foundational, a little bit about 2023. Let's talk about 2024. And, I can't help but notice in the background this lovely imagery of, the theme for this year, Adam and Eve, enter the garden. So could you talk a bit about sort of 2024's gala, what we're looking for, and sort of where the theme connects?
So again, everything we do is collaboration. We put it out to our team members and, to have them solicit to come back with some theme suggestions. We landed on Adam and Eve, Enter the Garden. But what we're most proud of this year, in being able to transition very quickly from the M&T Exchange building, where we maxed out, to go to live casino and hotel, which has amazing production, has amazing facilities, has the hotel connected to it, has parking. So now we're in a home that we can expand and have some foundational roots.
Yeah.
What we're proud of is that it's 150 models, 11 designers, 20 artists, 10 restaurants, and then we have 2 specific VIP caterer, Chef Dash and Susan Smallwood, who's bringing her LeGrand caviar to the event. So what we're building and what folks will walk into is a true experience, man. You're going to be engulfed as soon as you hit the green carpet of the garden and the visuals and the sounds and the smells. And it's us. And it's us at a very high level. And what I would say, I've been all over the world. I have not seen people dressed the way they've dressed here. Not at New York at the Met Gala. It was probably comparable. But what we're going to see on the 14th is just an exercise and an exhibition of be comfortable with who you are, embrace the theme, and enjoy the evening. So that's really how we came to it. It's just we get themes from our group, and then we build creative off of that. We build visuals off of that, and then we build execution points.
We made buy local popular, right? So when an individual wakes in the morning, they make two very powerful decisions, right? No, right? They don't get a chance, for the most part, to decide if they're going to wake up, right?
Right.
That is coming from a higher source. But when they wake up, you get an opportunity to decide, what are they going to eat? Right? They get that opportunity.
Yeah.
And then the next question that they get is, what are they going to wear? All right. So these are two powerful decisions that individuals make every day that often we overlook. And when we deal with the economic development aspect of this, because we both are community leaders, we don't just see ourselves as producers.
Yeah.
We're community leaders. All right. We are industry curators. All right. We are developing new ways for us to survive in this time of globalization where the average person is shopping in China, all right, to wear something in Baltimore. So what we've been able to do is to make buying from local designers sexy. All right? Sexy. Crafting an event where people they understand what the assignment is. They don't want to look like Susie Lee's boutique in wherever it is, right? Where everybody's going to look and act and be the same. They want to go to a specific person and ask them, number one, to have a conversation about themselves, and then ask the individual who have the designing talent to cultivate an outfit around their own self-image. And guess what? And then they're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're talking about shifting paradigms, what we're most proud of is that we're shifting the paradigms of where you shop. Where do you spend your money? All right. When we highlight these businesses, these Black-owned restaurants, all right, it's not because they just have good food, all right, because they do have great food, but it's also giving them an opportunity to be visible to people who may not see them, who are not in their communities. So although the Met Gala, all right, the core production group is pretty much us, is Black, right? Its impact is universal. So what we are most proud of doing is creating a universal product that, regardless of race, culture, creed, past experience, sexuality, whatever your ism or schism is, this is something that you can enjoy. This is something that you can invest in. And we are very intentional about that.
It's great. That's a really, really, really good point. And I want to move into this next question, because I got a couple left. I'm definitely curious about the culinary side of things. You know, I did this month of interviews with different chefs, and I saw a few of those listed as well. That I was like, okay, I gotta make sure I get a plate. Make sure I try a few things.
Yes, sir.
And I find like Baltimore is kind of one of those gems, like people don't know until you're there, and it's like, oh, you guys got really good food here, and I was like, duh. And I think our food scene like matches very well with all of these other cities that might have that reputation of being quote unquote a food city or a chef city or what have you. So talk a little bit about the way that maybe food plays a role in sort of the city's like landscape or what have you. Like, I understand we have these artists here. We have sort of this underdog thing that's floating here, but I think food generally unites. So could you speak a bit about that and how that plays a role into the Met Gala, Baltimore Met Gala?
So I would start with really the foundation, which um, Chase and I, we're firm believers. We're not going to let the enemy keep score in the games that we're playing in. So that's number one. Two, and most importantly, we're both foodies, right? So uh, we've been customers at all of the establishments. We've had them cater events for us. So the vision and now the reality is that just like we focus time on the fashion and designers, the culinary folks are artists too. The visual artists are artists too. So they all are creating masterpieces.
Yeah.
So then now how do you weave those together for what was now the Baltimore Met Gala? So again, we give them an opportunity. Richard has done an amazing job to have all of the restaurants featured on our media partner. So again, this is promotion and marketing, but also giving them the confidence that they belong at a high level and they belong in the same places where they may see a chain restaurant being featured on a Sunday brunch show. Now they're being featured. So again, it's the expectation and I know where our greatness is, and again, we don't let the enemy or those who are trying to figure out how we got through the door keep score because it's just a different game.
It's a good point. It's a good point. And sort of that elevation, that opportunity of having like, you have folks that are dressed up super nice. You have like sort of arts and culture, all of those things coming together. And it's this thing where you feel like you fit, that's really important. And as a person that's trying to carve my own lane, more often than not, when it's like, hey, you're invited to do this thing or that thing, I'm like, I'm underdressed, I'm overdressed, I don't fit. But what it sounds like is this experience. And I keep hearing an experience. You talked about the different senses, the smells, the sights, the tastes. It feels like it's this notion that you belong, you fit, all of the isms and the schisms, you fit there. So in bringing all of the different sectors of the community together under sort of like we're all for Baltimore, talk about sort of that and any key takeaways you want from folks that are going to the event on the 14th.
Well, I'll say I like to play chess, and I'm becoming better every day, right? And on the chessboard, every piece moves differently, right, and has a different value, all right? But you can mate somebody with a pawn. Mm-hmm. So the pawn is the most insignificant piece on the board, and it's also the most significant piece on the board because the pawn can advance. If the pawn advances to the other side without being taken by its opponent, then the pawn gets to decide what piece it wants to be. All right? Yeah. It gets that. And we're playing a game of chess in Baltimore. All right? And historically, we have been pawns in the game of chess that is being played, in particular with Black people and people who are considered impoverished. We've been merely pawns, right? And what we understand by understanding the game of chess is if we make the right moves, then we get the opportunity to advance those pieces across the board, and that's where they get to decide who they are. All right. And it's our partners, all right, our partners in particular at the Baltimore Peninsula. It's our partners at the Baltimore Sun. It's our partners at the Baltimore Afro. It's our partners at WBAL who also understand the great opportunity that we have. Now, it's one thing to make it across the board. It's another thing to be accelerated and let people know. And that's where guys like you, Rob, all right, who are in places where the Baltimore Sun and these other media outlets are. You get an opportunity to tell our story and tell the world about the great experiences that are happening in Baltimore. Both of us are products of Baltimore City Public Schools, all right? We've had the foundational experiences in terms of cultivating from an academic standpoint, that gives us the power to craft and create a community who now can decide how the world sees them. And that is the Met Gala, all right? Because people would have thought before us that you can't do the Met Gala. Who are you to do the Met Gala? And the question that we have for them is, who are you to tell us that we can't?
I love that. I love that. It's like having the gall and the temerity. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I could do this. You don't think, I can do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Jay-Z said, I'm trying to get on the screen. He said, far from a Harvard student, just had the balls to do it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are.
I dig that. I dig that. Any final thoughts, LaRian, before we move into a few rapid fire questions, if you guys have a few moments?
No, I just, I have one thought.
Sure.
And we are really product of expectations, right? And I live by that. So we walk out each of our doors each day and we can say, we're going to go left, we're going to go right, we're going to go high. And it is our decision. And then who do you surround yourself with to make sure you can execute at a very high level? That is really the spirit that I walk in. And when folks come to the Met Gala and other activations, we want them to walk through the door and have a sense of pride that we're considering every detail and every touch point to make sure we reach and exceed their expectations so that we exceed our expectations for ourselves every day.
Thank you. It's great. It's wonderful. It's good to get the connective tissue and the story around it. And here's to September 14th.
Yes.
So there's a couple of things I want to do in these final moments. I want to do these rapid fire questions. And the way that rapid fire works, they're fun questions. They're more into who the person is a little bit. But the key is you don't want to overthink the questions. So here's the first one. When you think of Baltimore culture, right? Since this is uniting Baltimore arts, culture, philanthropy, fashion, food, all of it. What is the one word that comes to mind?
Potential.
Chase?
I'm trying not to overthink it. Execution.
Okay. And here's the next one. So, we don't go to, it's like I said what I said, you know what I mean? The next one is, what would be your top consideration when building out a great event? Like I see, Afro Preak, obviously, Jazzy Summer Nights and Baltimore Met Gala. So there's the reputation of building out these events, these opportunities for folks to connect. What is that top consideration when building out a great event?
It starts with the team, Rob. We have to assemble team members who are equally yoked, who are equally committed, and who are equally accountable for what the output is on their side of the table. So before we can begin building the pretty stuff, you have to have solid foundation. You have to have solid architecture, and that all comes with building a great team to execute that.
Yeah, and I would say vision. There's a parable in the Bible, I believe, that says, without vision, the people perish, right? So there has to be an individual, a group of individuals who see a possibility that most people don't think could exist, right? And that's where we plant our flag. There was no individuals, Black in particular, flocking to Preakness before 147, all right? Blacks were considered at Preakness people who sold waters, peanuts, and parked cars, all right? And you had a few people who would attend because they themselves felt like they belonged.
Yeah.
But what we say is, that's not how we see ourselves. We have a vision for ourselves, all right, that has nothing to do with those three small places, but very critical places, not taken from those things, right?
Yeah.
But we don't see ourselves as a group of people who are reduced to just that responsibility. No, we can not only be there, but we can be there in Black excellence.
Love it. Love it. It's how you see yourself. It's a vision. Here's the last one. And this is a callback actually, because words matter, right? So I got to ask, what is the most powerful word?
It's not one word. It's no excuses for me.
And me is intentionality.
Okay, we'll turn yours into a hashtag, LaRon.
Yeah, no, and Rob, I tell you before I mean, case to tell you, man, like, you can't come to me telling me you're busy. You can't come to me telling me that, you couldn't get it done. If you're signing up to be on this team, and we will put forth the same effort we ask our team members to put, there are no excuses. We just make sure we get it done.
I love it. It's the same way that I about things. You make it work. It's sometimes it's early hours, sometimes it's multiple interviews, and in 5 years, being able to do about 800 interviews, having a day job and other requirements, it's an effort to make it work. I look at it as a journalistic bent. I'm trying to get that story, and I'm
Right.
trying to do the real version of it, not the fake version.
And Rob,
Yeah.
Rob, what I would like to add on the intentionality
Please.
is, my father always would tell me, if you have to say something to somebody and you're serious, tell them in their ear. All right?
Yeah.
You get that close so you can whisper it to them so they know that you're serious, so that they know that this is being directed to them. They can't mistakenly, because you're yelling into a crowd.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking to you. All right? And the other part of intentionality, all right, is consequence. All right? For everything that is intentional, there's a consequence. All right? Someone has always been driving the cart of Black affairs, making decisions for Black people.
Yeah.
All right? And many Black people have become comfortable, all right, with the intentionality of other people to drive their affairs. Myself and LaRian said, no, we are intentional. You will know us and see us and abide a relationship based upon the terms that we set, or else.
Yeah.
See, there's a consequence. And a lot of times people aren't prepared to not only deal with the consequences, but they're not willing to confront and apply the consequences to other people. Right? No. We're coming, we're marching forward with confidence, with the Creator behind us, and there are consequences. You have decided that you want to be a hindrance in what we're trying to create. All right? Yeah, we believe in ourselves that much. And I think that as we begin to chart a future in this country, all right, because from the Met Gala, all right, we've sparked within the Met Gala a new industry, all right, that we are less than 1% in. We buy fashion, we don't create it.
Right.
That is what we're shooting at. No, you have been very comfortable driving our affairs in fashion.
Yeah.
No longer. Here is us presenting us to the world.
It's dope. Thank you. That's a really good point to close out on. The sort of intentionality that's there, and when you see things that don't quite fit or representative of the people that it's supposed to be geared to, it's a disconnect there. And it seems from what you just mentioned that the attempt is to try to rectify that, and there are consequences when that's not quite there. So I love that. I love that point. So there's two things I want to do as we close out here. One, I want to thank you both for coming on and spending some time with me. This has been surely a treat, and definitely, again, it connects those dots for me and for the listeners. And two, I want to give you both the opportunity to share, in the sort of like final pitch website, social media, all of those things, those dates, so folks are aware. It'll be in the show notes, but I at least want to give you guys the opportunity to shamelessly plug, as I like to say.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And one, thank you for allowing us to be on your platform. We're big fans. And again, it just shows the ability of Richard just to make sure we got connected. They can go right to the BaltimoreMetGala.com. to get tickets. We're very fortunate that all of our VIP sections have been sold out. They're always the first thing to go, but we have great seats, and the space just affords a great experience no matter where you are in the building. So BaltimoreMetGala.com to purchase tickets, and then social media is at Baltimore Met Gala.
Like, don't allow this conversation just to be something that inspires you to listen. We want to inspire you to buy a ticket.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because so many times you hear people say, if I was there with Dr. King, I would have marched. All right, but we're marching towards economic freedom and creativity. All right, in this time, and the way that you support that, if you would support Dr. King, is you attend and you clap and you support these designers. You go to these restaurants, you buy this art. All right, support some of the efforts of myself and Finney. Like, that is the new revolution. All right, is us embracing the generosity. All right, and the beauty of us.
And there you have it, folks. For LaRian Finney and Derrick Chase from the Baltimore Met Gala, I'm Rob Lee, saying that there's art, culture, and community in and around your neck of the woods. You've just got to look for it.